June 1997. This photograph went everywhere. Princess Diana and Mother Teresa, hands clasped, two icons in perfect composition. The world saw compassion incarnate, global sisterhood, mutual understanding. Cameras captured every angle. But what the cameras didn't show was what came next. Teresa requested a private room, no staff, no photographers. 43 minutes behind a locked door. When Diana emerged, everything had changed. Eyes red, voice gone. She canceled her CNN interview scheduled for that afternoon. British tabloids ran, "Diana snubbed by Saint?" The palace claimed Princess felt unwell. But Diana's protection officer would later testify she cried the entire flight home. This photograph shows two women performing for the world. What happened after, in that locked room, was the real story. What did Mother Teresa whisper that made Diana clutch a small prayer card like her life depended on it? The answer would haunt everyone who knew Diana's final summer. The world knew them as icons. Princess Diana, 36 years old in the spring of 1997, photographed more than any woman in history. Mother Teresa, 86, Nobel laureate, living saint. The public narrative painted them as kindred spirits, two women devoted to compassion, charity, global healing. But the real story was different. Teresa rarely granted private audiences. She moved through the world with rigid protocol. 15 minutes for dignitaries, nothing more. So when Diana requested a personal meeting in June 1997, bypassing all palace intermediaries, people close to Teresa noticed something unusual. She read Diana's letter 3 times, her assistant later recalled. Whatever Diana wrote changed Teresa's mind. The meeting was scheduled. 40 minutes. Alone. No cameras. Something about that request, the desperation in it maybe, made Teresa insist on privacy. That letter was never found after Diana's death. But what happened in that room would echo for decades. Both women carried secrets the world couldn't see. In 2007, 10 years after her death, Teresa's private letters were published. They revealed decades of spiritual emptiness. "I smile outside, but inside I scream," she'd written to her confessor. The cheerful missionary was a performance. Behind it, doubt, darkness, the feeling that God had abandoned her. Diana's private crisis was more public, but no less devastating. Divorce finalized in 1996. Bulimia, depression, marital collapse broadcast to every tabloid. The paparazzi hunted her like prey. By early 1997, she was dating Dodi Fayed, trying to build something real while cameras followed her everywhere. No escape, no privacy, no peace. People who knew Teresa said she saw something in Diana she recognized, the burden of being worshipped while suffering inside. What connects a saint and a princess? Both were symbols, not people. Both lived double lives. Both were dying under the weight of adoration. The prayer card Teresa would hand Diana was written that morning. Teresa told her assistant, "This one needs the truth." After the meeting, Diana's team noticed everything changed. She stopped wearing her engagement ring in public. Photographers documented it immediately. Started giving away clothes, jewelry, personal items to friends without explanation. Her protection officer later testified, "She seemed like someone preparing for something." In July 1997, just weeks after meeting Teresa, Diana made updates to her will. Legal records confirm it. When asked about her sudden shifts in behavior, Diana deflected. "I'm finally at peace," she told one friend. But her security detail wasn't convinced. She looked resigned, not suicidal, calm but distant. Teresa, meanwhile, refused all interviews about the Diana meeting. When journalists pressed, her response was always the same. "I told her what she needed to hear." Both women would be dead within 11 weeks. The prayer card would be the only physical evidence of what passed between them, and its 11 words would never be officially confirmed. If you think you know where this is going, you don't. Bronx Hospice, June 18, 1997, 2:17 p.m. Teresa and Diana enter a small office. The door locks from inside. Security waits in the hallway, listening. At first, conversation, low voices, indistinct. Then, silence. Then, crying. 43 minutes total. The longest private meeting Teresa had granted in years. No recording, no witnesses. Both refused to discuss it afterward. Palace officials pressed Diana on the flight home. She said nothing, stared out the window, prayer card gripped in her hand. British security filed a classified report. Subject emotionally compromised. Teresa's assistant later testified that Mother came out shaking, needed to sit down. What was said in that room? The only way to reconstruct it is from what happened next. From the behavioral changes, the testimonies, the aftermath. Start with what we know. Diana changed completely after that day, and Teresa, who'd spent a lifetime comforting the suffering, looked like she'd just delivered a death sentence. According to sources close to Teresa, she spoke about sacrifice, not religious sacrifice, the cost of being worshipped while suffering inside. Teresa's own letters, revealed posthumously, contained the phrase, "I smile outside, scream inside." She told Diana something about her own darkness, her own fraud. The world's most famous nun admitting she felt abandoned by God. "The world needs your image more than your happiness," sources claim Teresa said. This is reconstruction, but it fits the pattern. Diana allegedly asked, "So I'm trapped?" Teresa's response, according to those who knew her, "We both are." Then came the prayer card. Teresa had written it that morning in her small, shaky script. 11 words, English, simple grammar. She handed it to Diana as a final gesture. Diana read it, then broke down completely. Security outside heard sobbing that lasted minutes. When Diana left, the card was clutched against her chest. She never let it go. The prayer card became Diana's constant companion. From June 18th until August 31st, she kept it in her purse. Her protection officer testified seeing Diana read it dozens of times, in the car, before bed, sitting alone in Kensington Palace. Friends said she showed it to no one, protected it fiercely. When asked what it said, Diana's answer was always the same. "It's between me and someone who understands." What were the 11 words? Multiple theories exist, no confirmation. The most credible reconstruction, based on fragments from 3 testimonies. "Your suffering will save others. That's all any of us can do." Or simpler, "The world will remember you for dying, not living." Or darkest, "Freedom comes only when you stop running." The exact words died with Teresa and Diana, but the message was clear. Your pain has purpose. You cannot escape being a symbol. Make the suffering count. Diana wept because she understood. This wasn't comfort. This was a life sentence. Post-meeting behavior was documented extensively. Diana gave away possessions, told friends, "I won't be here much longer." Verified testimonies confirm it. She stopped planning long-term projects after June 1997. Palace officials grew concerned. A psychiatrist was consulted, but Diana insisted she was finally at peace. Her protection officer noticed the shift. She seemed resigned, not suicidal, like someone who'd accepted something inevitable. The prayer card was always in her purse, read before sleep every night. Dodi Fayed noticed it, asked about it. Diana refused to explain. "It's between me and someone who understands," she said. Meanwhile, Teresa's health was rapidly declining, heart failure accelerating. As if both women knew the clock was running out. As if the meeting had been a final reckoning. Two icons preparing for the end. One card connecting them across the distance. Teresa told her assistant something strange in late June. "I gave her the truth. God forgive me." The assistant didn't understand at the time. Later, it would make terrible sense. What truth could a saint give a princess that required divine forgiveness? Perhaps this, that their suffering wasn't redemptive, that fame was a trap with no exit, that the world needed their images more than their happiness, and nothing would change that. Teresa had lived with this knowledge for decades. The letters prove it. She smiled for cameras while screaming inside. Now she'd pass that burden to Diana, not as comfort, but as recognition. "You're not alone in this prison. I see you, I understand, but there's no escape except death." The prayer card was both gift and curse, acknowledgement and sentence. Diana carried it everywhere, a reminder of the one person who truly understood. August 31st, 1997, Paris, the Ritz Hotel. Diana and Dodi prepare to leave for his apartment. The prayer card is in Diana's purse, as always. Paparazzi swarm outside. The decision is made. Take the back exit, try to lose them. The Mercedes speeds through Paris streets, cameras chase. At 12:23 a.m., the tunnel, the crash, Pont de l'Alma, metal screaming, glass shattering, silence. Diana's belongings are recovered from the wreckage by French authorities. The prayer card is found in her purse, blood-stained but readable. British officials immediately request the card be sealed. French investigators photograph it first, then hand it over to UK custody. Scotland Yard assigns it case number 1997-D-847, personal effects classified. The card is never released to the public, never shown to press. But 3 people saw it and testified about its contents during the investigation. Each gave slightly different versions of the 11 words. Common themes emerged: sacrifice, suffering, freedom through death. The variations suggested the words were ambiguous enough to carry multiple meanings. British authorities made a decision: too sensitive to release. Could incite conspiracy theories or suggest Diana expected death, one internal memo stated. The card remains in the evidence locker at Scotland Yard, locked away, protected, hidden. And the world moved on, never knowing what Teresa wrote, never understanding why Diana cried for hours, never seeing the 11 words that connected 2 women across the unbridgeable gap between saint and princess, nun and royal, poverty and wealth. The only thing they truly shared, the crushing weight of being needed by millions while dying inside, alone. September 5, 1997, Calcutta, India. Mother Teresa dies of heart failure, 5 days after Diana. The world mourns 2 icons in 1 week. Unprecedented, unbelievable. The timing felt impossible. But those close to Teresa noticed something. She'd seemed to expect it, seemed almost relieved. Her final words, disputed but reported by her assistant, "I told her the truth. God forgive me." The assistant asked what she meant. Teresa closed her eyes. She was waiting to follow Diana, the assistant later claimed. Conspiracy theories exploded immediately. Did Teresa know? Did she predict Diana's death? Did the prayer card contain some prophecy? More likely, two elderly women, both suffering, both exhausted by fame, both at peace with death. Teresa was 86, heart failing for months. Diana was 36, but living under impossible pressure. The prayer card became an obsession for investigators. What did Teresa know that made Diana cry for hours? What truth required God's forgiveness? The questions multiplied. Answers never came. Two women dead, one card sealed, and millions wondering what secret passed between them in that Bronx hospice room. Between 1998 and 2005, multiple investigations examined Diana's death. The prayer card was examined, but contents never disclosed. 3 testimonies mentioned it directly: her protection officer, a palace aide, Teresa's assistant. Each gave slightly different versions of the 11 words. The protection officer claimed it said, "Your pain will heal millions. That is the crown you cannot remove." The palace aide recalled, "You will be remembered for your death, not your life." Teresa's assistant insisted it was simpler. Freedom comes only when the world no longer needs you. British authorities reviewed all 3 accounts. The variations were significant. Either the witnesses remembered differently, or the words were ambiguous enough to support multiple interpretations. Final decision: too sensitive to release. The official reasoning: could incite conspiracy theories or suggest Diana expected death. The card remained classified, locked in Scotland Yard's evidence room. Case closed in 2005. Then, in 2007, everything shifted. Teresa's private letters were published. Her decades-long spiritual crisis revealed. Suddenly, the meeting with Diana made perfect sense. The letters showed a woman in profound spiritual darkness. "Where is my faith?" Teresa wrote. "Even deep down, there is nothing but emptiness and darkness." She'd spent 50 years serving the poor while feeling abandoned by God. The cheerful nun was a performance. Behind it, doubt, despair, the crushing burden of being everyone's symbol of hope while having none herself. When those letters went public in 2007, people finally understood the Diana meeting. 2 women in crisis, both trapped by sainthood, both exhausted by adoration, both seeking escape. Teresa saw herself in Diana, the young princess hounded by cameras, trapped by fame, suffering publicly while the world watched and did nothing. Teresa had lived that life for decades. She knew there was no escape, no privacy, no peace, only performance until death. That's what she told Diana. That's what made Diana cry. Not comfort, but recognition. Not hope, but truth. You're trapped. I'm trapped. We exist for others' comfort, and that burden is carried alone, always. Based on the 3 testimonies, the most likely reconstruction of the 11 words, "Your pain will heal millions. That is the crown you cannot remove." Or, simpler, "You will be remembered for your death, not your life." Or, darkest, "Freedom comes only when the world no longer needs you." The exact words matter less than the message. Teresa told Diana her suffering was her purpose. You cannot escape being a symbol, so make the suffering count. Diana's tears were recognition, a life sentence acknowledged. Teresa's gift was permission to accept the unbearable. Both women died believing their pain served something larger. Whether that's tragedy or transcendence, you decide. Diana spent her final summer in strange peace, not happy but resigned, gave away belongings, updated her will, prepared her sons emotionally, not suicidal, accepting. Teresa spent her final days in similar resignation, relief at approaching death, both women exhausted by adoration, crushed by constant performance. The prayer card was their shared understanding, two prisoners recognizing each other, fame as trap, compassion as cage, saints created by cameras, suffering in private. The 11 words, acknowledgement that some people exist for others' comfort. The prayer card still sits in that evidence locker. Case 1997-D-847. Bloodstained, worn edges. Teresa's shaky handwriting. Diana's final possession. No longer a simple religious token, now a symbol of two women's shared prison. Diana clutched it in her final moments, disputed but believed by many. Teresa wrote it knowing both would soon be free. The 11 words, whatever they actually were, became prophecy. Both women dead within weeks. Both finally released from the burden of being needed. The card is proof that even saints break under the weight of worship, that fame devours, that compassion costs, that some people are loved by millions and understood by none. The world never knew what those 11 words said, but Diana carried them to her death. Teresa carried them to her grave. Two icons who found each other too late. Two women who understood the price of being everyone's hope while drowning in private despair. The prayer card sits in darkness now, its 11 words sealed forever. Mother Teresa and Princess Diana, two of the most photographed, most beloved, most worshipped women of the 20th century. Both lived double lives. Both smiled for cameras while screaming inside. Both died within days of each other, as if some invisible thread connected them across continents. That thread was the prayer card, the truth Teresa whispered, the burden Diana finally understood. Your suffering is your purpose. There's no escape but death. Diana cried for hours because Teresa told her what no one else would, that being needed by millions means dying inside alone. The card remains. The women are gone. And the world still doesn't understand that the icons it worships are prisoners of adoration, saints with no salvation, legends with no peace. Only the performance, until the very end.